as we go along. Anyway, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you very much for making the time to join us for our very first Young Professionals webinar. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Kolofelo, and I am a member of the Young Professionals Committee, a committee which is focused on building awareness among university students and graduates about the importance of being part of a professional community like SAPEX, especially very early on in one's career. Today, we have a very special guest with us, Chantal Kading, who will be discussing career mastery, climbing the career jungle gym. Just a quick background. Chantal is the founding member and CEO of The People Shop, a human enhancement firm with a mission to raise corporate and social consciousness by forging and nurturing raw talent. She is a registered psychometrist and a certified EQ assessor and facilitator. Chantal is passionate about youth development, as well as driving professionalism and elevating this discipline into the boardroom. Giving back is close to her heart, and her philanthropy can be seen in her work with the Amy Foundation and the Rising Lotus Foundation. I would also like to add that Chantal also did a webinar for us last year on mentorship, which I found truly inspirational. In fact, it's actually one of the reasons why I decided to get out of my comfort zone and start becoming more active in the community. So thank you for that, Chantal. So for those of you who have actually haven't seen that webinar, I would encourage you to actually visit the SAPEX YouTube channel. You can find it there. And I would also encourage you to subscribe to the YouTube channel, because there's always new webinars that are being posted and would hate for you to miss out. So with that being said, over to you, Chantal, and thank you.
Wonderful. I think I've got sound coming through. If you want to give me a thumbs up to say that you've got sound coming through on your side as well. And just that we can be able to proceed from there. So thank you for the beautiful introduction. It is my privilege to serve you this afternoon. I'm very blessed to hear that Kolofelo was inspired by my webinar we did last year with the SAPEX organization. Being able to help the youth and to help you to kind of find your journey along the way is super special for me. So it's lovely to have you here with us. So buckle up and let's kind of get going. So just in terms of our topic this afternoon, is what we're going to speak about is the career jungle gym. So the beautiful kind of a learning I had a while ago is we all speak about the career ladder. People want to kind of climb up the career ladder. And what I found in the last couple of years is that the career ladder has been replaced by a career jungle gym. And so really kind of where that takes us is to really kind of understanding in terms of a beautiful analogy is a couple of years ago, about 3 years ago, I did Kilimanjaro. And what's really interesting is you can pretty much climb Kilimanjaro in one day. You can pretty much start on the bottom and take a straight route up. But the challenge is that you wouldn't be able to acclimatize, and your organs probably shut down, and you probably will make it to the top of the mountain and summit. But what happens is that for a 7-day journey, what happens is you dance with the mountain, and you literally have to climb it like a jungle gym. You kind of have to walk around it, and kind of walk around, and sometimes you hike high and you sleep low. And it was a beautiful analogy about how careers kind of work, is sometimes we kind of move our careers upward, and we learn so many things, and we might have kind of take a small step back and kind of learn again and go further and reskill ourselves and learn more knowledge. And it really is more like a jungle gym than a ladder. So looking at that is something I said a couple of years ago, is that when I grew up, or let's say when my parents grew up, which are pretty much baby boomers, life was about what you know. If you had an education, you were certain of getting a job. So as long as you studied and you had some kind of further development studies, you would be able to secure a job. In the last couple of years, and even kind of I'm 40 and change, and very proud to kind of, throw out my age there. But in my kind of peer group, it came about not just about what you know, but who you know. If you knew someone in an organization or a company, you'd be able to find a job or secure a job. And how the world has changed with our digital media and social media is life now is about who knows you and what do they know about you. So really what it's kind of about is saying is, yes, you can have a great education, but in order for you to secure your job, and to be able to build a career which is able to grow and to mature and get to the point that you can actually summit really requires you to manage your personal and your professional brand very proactively, because there are beautiful examples of how we're looking at the world now is saying is everybody knows everybody. So you can find anybody on social media, or you can find anybody probably through social media, through LinkedIn, through Facebook, etc. And if people were to meet you on any of those medias, would that brand that they would see on there be representative of the career you're trying to build and grow towards? So really kind of what the Me Inc. is about is you're officially now the CEO of your life and your career. You're the entrepreneur of your skills and you're the entrepreneur of your talents and your career. And the ME stands for something very specifically. The ME is about manifesting, in other words, creating your excellence. So I'm going to kind of put a question out and you can kind of just answer with a yes, no, is do you believe that life is about finding yourself? If you believe yes, just kind of put a Y into the comment box. If it's no, then write the end. So manifest is about creating. It's about being able to bring to life. And the E stands for excellence. So I'm getting a lot of yeses coming through, beautiful. And Kitiwe's got something else to say. Linda Kulu, no, someone else, I missed the other no. The team will find me who was the other no. So a couple of different voices here. Noko is saying no. The excellence is about, oftentimes we try so hard to be perfect. And perfect to me is an illusion. What is able for you to master is excellence. Excellence is being able to tap into your fullest and truest potential. So manifesting excellence really is about saying is, what are all the hidden gems and talents and skills which are hidden inside of this body? Because you told me at the age of 50, I would climb Kilimanjaro when I was in better kind of shape, I would tell you no way. The fact that I would do it at 39 and change, never in a million years I thought that'd be possible. But sometimes in life, they said that we underestimate what we can do in 10 years and we overestimate what we can do in a year. Sometimes we focus so on the short term, we don't have a kind of a game plan saying is we don't want to be in 10 years time, because kind of scaling Kilimanjaro was not something I thought I could do at 30 and yet I could do it at 39 and change. So manifesting excellence is about being able to create your fullest potential, tap into everything that's excellent and living an extraordinary life, your best life. So for anybody who has put in the word yes, unfortunately your answer is incorrect. If you've said no, then please take your hand, lift it up, and turn it the other way and give yourself a pat on the back, right? So no is the right answer. Because here's my view on it, is life is not about finding yourself. Because honestly, baby, you're not lost. Life is about creating yourself. And that's my question to you this afternoon is, who is the person that you want to be in life? Not what you want to do. It's who do you want to be in this world and how do you work towards creating and making true in reality that vision that you got for yourself. So, note made. So kind of where that leads us to is in terms of personal branding. And personal branding for me really is around a couple of things. Personal branding is a valuable business commodity. It's a sum of your character, your ability, and your charisma. One of the most common characteristics when it comes to leadership is charisma. It's the ability to influence, to be able to have presence. Your personal brand equity is what makes you unique. It's your calling card, it's your reputation, it's your first but lasting impression. I've been actively involved and serving this community of supply chain with Safex for now close on 20 years. And I sometimes marvel at having met people when they were graduates, like many of you in this call, and now I can say they are CEOs and supply chain directors at some of the best organizations in our country and internationally. But oftentimes when I deal with people who say to me is, oh, I knew that person when they were younger, when they had like 10 years ago, is we grow and we mature. But at every point in time is, even though you are the youth, is I want you to start taking a very mature approach to this career of yours and to this life that you are branding, because you want to be very conscious of that brand, because whatever you do today, 5 and 10 years ago, might be the lasting impression you leave with the next person who may be your leader or the person you want to go into business with or do business with. So be conscious of everything you do and start seeing yourself not as a person or as a young person, but as a brand you're wanting to manage in order for you to create your destiny. And being able to open up doors, it's important that we create a memorable experience. What I'm saying is, I've dealt with this person and I'd like to continue doing business with them. So really what comes back to that thing I said about life is about who knows you and what do they know about you. So oftentimes we find in our recruitment side of the business, companies oftentimes says, oh, I know this person, or someone in the business knows them and we didn't kind of enjoy working with them, so we don't want to kind of employ them. And I was thinking someone saying is, if I spoke to you a year ago, you're a lot smarter today than what you were a year ago or 3 years ago, 5 years ago. We've grown and mature, but people tend to remember you for the last place they met you at. So make sure that impression that you leave with them is a lasting and a positive one. In terms of your brand, what really is important is for us to be able to kind of look at brand equity in terms of supply and demand. So, what kind of notice here is that different kind of brands bring something different to it. And to become conscious is what's the kind of brand you wanted to bring into the world? When, as our organization, I've got all the rainbow colors. It just ended up as such. But kind of saying is, what is it you bring across? For Sapex, they use the blue, which is trust. It's dependable, it's strength. And that's what I think given them such a beautiful grounding after so many years. Is saying is, what is the brand image you want to convey? Is it calm in the gray? Is it friendly in the orange? Is it red in that beautiful, bold youthfulness? Think about this brand you're trying to create. And then kind of we start from a demand perspective is working from outside in. It's really important as you start crafting this career and this life for yourself is become aware of what does the world want? What is required in business? And what we're finding at the moment is a couple of things. From a business perspective, is that business is looking for agility, innovation, and responsiveness. Again, as I gush when it comes to supply chain, it's a quick backstory, checking myself for time, is I got my first job because someone liked my voice. And by the second interview, the one boss was certain about me and her sister business partner wasn't certain about me, and they took a fly anyway. And I generated R1 million for them in my first year of working. But what I found over time is, particularly in the supply chain industry, is that we are one of the fastest places where innovation and business change is happening. We're leading that for organizations. And that's why, it's my heart's passion with Sapex to really elevate and continue to professionalize the supply chain industry, that I believe supply chain professionals are best geared to be sitting in those boardrooms and leading organizations. And for what we're needing at the moment is an absolute increase in agility. Kind of growing up, again, for me, it was about IQ. You were measured on your IQ at school, and I think many of you probably would have done, psychometric assessments at school or at varsity. And then kind of it became about in the kind of late 90s, 2000s, is about EQ. If you've got emotional intelligence, that's kind of the way of the future. And where we're kind of getting to at the moment is agility quotient. What is your AQ? Have you got the agility? And I think last year's pandemic kind of said to us, the people who survived this big change wave, this tsunami that hit us on a global scale, was people who had the agility index. In our business, for example, which is focused on talent acquisition and leadership and team development, we had a period of, for 5 months, we made no revenue in our business whatsoever. But by agility quotient and innovation, we were able to turn around, and at this point in time, my team is actually too small for the amount of work that we've got. Have you got the agility, and can you bring that to business? Innovation. If you want to compete in a marketplace which is fairly saturated and there's a lot of competition in it, you need to bring that innovation. And that's part of the skills you want to be able to develop as a young person at the moment. So get off of, we call it Facebook, so Meetbook, Facebook, and also getting onto, are you playing some brand games in the evening? Are you getting onto things like Clubhouse, for example, and meeting with a peer group would elevate your average, and being responsive. There is no more time for us to wait for something to happen. I mean, one of our retailers in this country can deliver food to me in 60 minutes. I can't even get my shopping list organized and myself in the car and back in that kind of time. So responsiveness is key. The consumer, which we all are, is we want to be able to deal with companies which are purpose-driven. There's this beautiful drive, and I think as a community of young people, what many of you are, is this drive between saying is we don't just want to buy things, we want to be able to live a more conscious life and be able to deal with companies, work for organizations, which is not just taking from the world and Mother Earth, but is contributing to it. Customization. I mean, there's some retailers from a supply chain perspective who's able to customize your jeans to your exact body fit. Customer service. It's kind of saying is, I will always go back to company who give me great customer service. They can be more expensive, they can be slower, but if I had a great human experience with someone, you know, we've spoken again many times with myself and Sapex, is the hard skills are important, right? You need to have skills. But if you don't have the competencies of influencing, of human interaction, the robots can do any job. I mean, I think professions like medicine and even legal, I mean, a computer, a supercomputer can go through more case files than what a human being can do. So there are so many of our traditional positions which are going to be actually weeded out by robotics. And that's part of our advancement journey. But the one element that we've got as human beings is our emotions and our ability to have a human connection. And if you're able to develop your competencies and your soft skills and be able to have a great human experience, I believe that'll be a differentiator. And that's how you'll be able to still have a job, even with a lot of automation is happening in our business and supply chain. And the last thing is digital skills and advanced competencies, which I'm going to touch on. So moving to the next slide is in terms of looking at the future work skills. So what we're finding at the moment is that in terms of the 2020 work skills, which is now about a year old, and this comes out of the World Economic Forum, is we're seeing a beautiful, and that's where the agility element comes in. We're seeing this mismatch of different requirements from business leading to a different set of competencies that people need. So because of the rise of machine learning and smart machines, more of a new media, you know, working on apps and all these kind of things, working on more of a global platform. You know, we were very kind of working in silos per country. We're seeing a lot more of a globalization. We need things like a design mindset, virtual collaboration. I mean, I speak to so many companies from a leadership and team dynamic saying is, on the one hand, it's great to work from home, but from a buy-in and influencing and getting new ideas off the ground, elements like Zoom and let's say Zoom, Teams, these kind of media have got a limitation. When I cannot see your body language is influencing you and getting you on board with a new concept is hard. Doing maintenance work via these mediums is easy, but when trying to mobilize people, getting mega projects that require a lot of change management, there's some challenges. So this virtual collaboration is critical. Cross-cultural competencies. We're working on multiple platforms across multiple continents. Social intelligence. So someone's kind of just made sure that their voice was heard. And sense making. So we're seeing that there is a new level of competencies and skills that are required for future work. So what's really important here is what you need to do is to be able to go from the outside in based on demand and focus on supply and saying is what have you got to supply? You need to get it behind the joystick of your skills, your knowledge, your talents, and saying is what's my next step going forward? And in terms of that, what's really valuable to kind of do is to unpack and almost do a self-exploration journey and saying is what do I need? And we speak about it in terms of this kind of information from Tony Robbins is the 6 human needs. So the basic kind of human level, we need certainty and variety. So on the one hand, you want to have the certainty of I've got a job and I'm getting a salary every month. There's a point in time after some time that you're saying is I'm getting bored. It's great to have a job, it's great to have a salary, but I want to do some variety of projects to be able to kind of stimulate some enthusiasm and some creativity. So paradoxical, but they kind of work together. The second, or the third and the fourth element is connection. We want to be part of a community, part of a tribe, and fit in within a greater sphere. But the fourth element is significance. We want to stand out. It's a human need for you to say is, I mean, I told God about 8 years ago saying is, show me what this baby can do. What have you put inside of me? What are the hidden talents I've got? Because I want to be able to literally push them to the max. right? Where is the nitrous oxide button? Because God, I'm giving that one a go. And saying is, how am I able to create a legacy of something that I can be proud of, that is able to contribute to the world and to my community in some way, shape, or form? And my primary community is the supply chain industry. And the last two, which is kind of the human needs of the spirit, is to grow. It's a human need to wanting to grow, just like plants and human beings do. It's a normal life cycle. Growing and advancing up your cycle is important. So I will always encourage you to learn as much as you can. You should be doing reading 30 minutes every single day. In terms of growing, again, kind of touching on Kolofelo is, how involved are you with professional bodies like SAFEX? And all this other stuff, saying is, how do you have you become a continuous learner is really critical. And the last one is contribution. How do you contribute in terms of leaving the world better off than when you did when you entered? So those are the economics of happiness, I call them. The next part in terms of this vision is, who are you? What matters to you? And I think for many of you, I might be kind of 2 steps ahead, but it's really important in this journey of starting and activating your career is that you're clear about who you are and what you're wanting to do. Some of you might be in the middle of study, some of you might be in your first 2 or 3 years of work, and saying is, what matters to me? Because it's so important to not just work for that paycheck, but saying is, what is my passion? If I'm not able to do my passion in my work time, is can I do it on the weekends? Because the more joy and satisfaction you can build in your life is important. And it's not something the world can give you. You have to actively go and find your joy and your happiness and create it for yourself. And to be very conscious about who is it you intentionally want to become. One of the most profound things for me, kind of in my kind of personal transformational journey, was moving from a to-do list to a to-be list. Not saying is, what are the 20 things I'm needing to do, but saying is, who do I want to be? Because when you're clear about this persona and saying is, this is who I'm wanting to show up in the world, here's what I'm aspiring to be in the world, the to-dos become so easy. Willpower, so last season. You don't need it because your why will drive you beyond the pain barrier. Your career is your stamp on the world. And it's important to kind of have a vision that inspires you. So once you know what your why is, once you know what drives you and what kind of impact you want to leave in the world, then it's easy to pursue from there. And a quick story, kind of keeping my eye on the time, which I'm going to kind of move past because I want to give some time to Q&A, is looking at your why is, what is your purpose? What is your career path that you're wanting to follow? I was very blessed yesterday to have a gentleman who's actually in the supply chain. He's an executive in the supply chain industry, particularly in the procurement. He's kind of moved from finance into logistics and now into procurement. And I said, okay, well, so let's talk about your career path. And he said, okay, I said, so, whether you want to get to a supply chain director, here's a couple of routes. You want to go to CFO, these are routes. He said, Chantel, I'm going straight to the top. The goal is CEO, right? What is our game plan? And him and I are now on a 5-year to 6-year journey to get him to CEO level. He's very clear about his purpose, about the end goal and the outcome he wants to achieve. And now from there, we can kind of work back and saying is, what's the steps we need to take in terms of this marathon he's ready to run? Not 100 miles or not 100-meter sprint, but a marathon to get there. Conscious, calculated, step by step, and willing to do the work to reskill. And what I find is so important is, again, in 20 years of working in the people supply chain, is to define what success is to you. For someone else, success might be earning R1 million. For someone else, it would be the fact that their children hug and run to them every evening when they run into the house. For someone else, it might be a paid-off home. For someone else, it might be a CEO kind of a job. But it's really important that you almost like switch off the rest of the world and you define for yourself is, what is success to you? What do you want to have on your tombstone? And in this career path is to not just consider being successful, but to have a life of significance, a life that matters and a life that leaves your fingerprints in the world richer than what you arrived in it. So moving on to that kind of set you are the brand, baby. You are the brand. So let's kind of get into tackling a bit about how to manage this brand. So the first thing is looking at the supply element. So what's really important here is to know what is your differentiator, what makes you unique, and what is deemed commercially valuable. There is a huge supply of young people coming out of universities who are unemployed. I'll be honest with you, I'm currently employed a chemical engineering degree from one of the top universities in our country who's unemployed for the last 13 months. COVID didn't help the situation, but we have a huge amount of people who've got an education and we've got a lack of jobs. So how are you able to stand out and differentiate yourself that you are able to utilize and get into the job market as quickly as possible and start building and climbing that jungle gym? It's important for you to impress by your unique value proposition in person, on paper, CVs, etc., and online, right? We're living in a digital world. If I were to, and I use this so many times when I kind of do youth programs, is if I were to add you onto WhatsApp and I saw your profile pic, would I want to employ you or do business with you? If the answer is no, you know what you need to do at 2 o'clock this afternoon. Change the profile pic, right? So what is your value proposition from a human or a person perspective? Your value proposition equation is a combination of your track record, your capabilities, your character, your potential, and reliability. The business world is, or the whole world is in an economic crisis. I mean, the word recession is, I mean, we're past recession. And in order for businesses to be able to get back onto a firm footing, to be able to establish themselves again into this evolved business world we are facing going forward from 2021, their success is based on your reliability. If you are not someone I can depend on, I will not be able to keep you employed. Because companies are trying to keep their door open, worrying about whether you are going to have yourself in your seat and at your desk and deliver the work is a given. I cannot tell you, in the last couple of years, one of the biggest challenges I find execs only is they are frustrated by the youth and the lack of a good work ethic. People who don't arrive at 8 or 2 minutes past 8 and leave by 5 to 5, or start packing up by 20 to 5 and leave by 5 to 5, the people who arrive early and leave late, who says, you know what, if there's an opportunity to be seen, they put their hand up for it, even if it's a rubbish job to do, right? Is, are you making yourself noticed? Are you someone who's saying is, hey, there was this young person who just kind of said, they'll do my printing for me. Someone said, can I sit on a meeting? Can I learn something? Can I go do your stats or your analysis for you, right? How do you stand out above the next candidate? And that's over the cost and the risk. Businesses are having to re-establish themselves. We have lost so many companies in the last kind of probably 12 to 18 months. We were in a recession before COVID hit. Right now, the amount of companies I'm seeing that just shops have closed down, companies saying is office space to rent, no deposit required. You're needing to step up your game. So what's critical in terms of your authentic value proposition is to know your strengths, showcase and soar with your strengths, mitigate and develop your weaknesses. I'm a very firm believer in the digital world we're living in right now. There's no time for you to upskill, right? You need to reskill. We're finding that the skills required for the next 3 to 5 years, very few to no people have them. About 42% of people who are currently employed, looking at how the businesses and the jobs requirements are going to change, 42% of people in employment right now are going to have to reskill. So the quicker you as youth are able to spend your time to your education, your deeper education, your competency building, that's critical. Know your values. Know what matters to you. Know your why is critical as you take on this journey. And something I just want to kind of mention, because my gut is in supply chain, we get A types and achievers, is there's no place for perfection. There is no place for perfection. What you want to do, saying, is where am I at right now? And define your why as you go. You know, there's some people say is that a perfect plan tomorrow is useless. A good plan today that's executed is the difference between the 1% and the 99%ers. Don't strive for perfection, but every day take conscious daily steps to get you where you need to go. pursue your passions, is do things that move you, things that add to your vision, your personal greatest vision for yourself, and fulfill your purpose. So I'm checking on time, and I'm going to make an executive decision to move through the next 3 slides. So here's my question, right? So let's make a quick timeout call. Here's my question. If you would like an extra bit of time to ask some questions, so if you want 5 minutes extra to ask questions, put yes in the comment box. If it's no, you'd like to kind of just hear my voice, some extra, you write no. So yes, time for comments. I've got one person. Quick, yes, I want to have time for questions, Chantel. Or no saying is, please kind of give me more detail. We've got one yes. I'm giving another couple of seconds. Otherwise, yes, yes, yes. Okay, time for Q&A. So close your eyes for me quickly. Okay. All right. Moving across quickly. Thank you very much for the responsiveness. I appreciate it. So let's talk about how to build this brand, right? There are 5 things that are really important. So the first one is in terms of creating value. One of the most critical things that you're able to do in the world right now is to not just do the work that you get paid for. But in our kind of business, what we found, or our differentiator, what moved us from 5 months of no income in a industry which was 100% dead, there was no movement whatsoever, was literally to be able to start marketing, innovating, and creating value. So you want to build something that other people are willing to invest in, whether that is your talents, your skills, your attitude. I'm happy as a business entrepreneur. Anybody who comes to work for me is I will upskill and reskill you, no problem. I will put money into you to invest in you to grow you, but you've got to bring the right attitude. That's my non-negotiable. You bring the right kind of attitude, human skills, work ethic, and attitude, and I promise you, many of these executives will give you more than 5 minutes. So, good key to know. The first one is to change your image. Speaking about that WhatsApp profile picture, is to align with your core competencies. Know your strengths, know your purpose. Have a great headshot. So again, if you want to have we have a great laugh in the office around what people put on LinkedIn. So one of the great things in terms of you're building your professional brand is, for me, Facebook is it's more private and personal, and people use it more from a private perspective, although there's a bigger drive in companies to use Facebook as small business at least. But LinkedIn 100% is a professional website, and it's a great connection and a networking tool. So make sure that you've got a really good profile pic on there that matches the vision, the brand you want to have out there. The second thing is to become the best at what you do. You're wanting to be able to be a content consumer. You are in the young part of your life. You don't need to go to bed by 10 o'clock like us old folks, right? You can move to 11 o'clock and you can spend an hour learning, upgrading yourself. Again, it's like, Noti Nkulufela said, is, don't go and watch YouTube jokes, is go and watch a YouTube webinar of, what is on the Sandfix channel? What are some of the movers and shakers doing in our industry? What's happening at the top organizations in supply chain? What is happening? What are the leading trends? Spend half an hour every day to be able to be remaining a student of the industry. Make sure that your knowledge is current. The amount of executives I speak to and said is, when's the last time you studied? I said is, well, Chantal, obviously you can see in my CV is when I did my degree in 1981. So the last time I had an education was 20, 30 years ago. How relevant are you? What kind of a game changer are you to be in business, right? And I'm like, postgraduate, you've got like 3 months, get yourself going, right? Remain a student, make sure that your knowledge and your skills are up to date. The world is moving super fast. You need to daily invest in your education. The second thing is communication, right? Is you want to start think about, if you think about yourself as a brand, and you think about other brands, is they are daily communicating with you. Are you communicating your brand? Openly, finding movers and shakers. Are you finding mentors, allies, Safex have so many site visits. There are breakfasts you can attend. There's conferences you can attend. The more you're able to network and meet with people, some of the people that I've known the best in the industry for many years, I've met at the Safex conference. And that's when you form strong relationships. Like they might know about you. They get to meet you and have a coffee with you at Safex conference. It's a game changer. Yes, So Jenny and I converted, right? Don't underestimate the power of networking, because the person you have a coffee with at a conference might be the next person you do business with, or your next employer. The next one is to promote yourself, is have an endorsement mindset, right? I have, for example, I don't know, close to 15,000 people connections on LinkedIn. And people keep connecting with me because I've got so much network. Because they connect to me that second level to someone else. And saying is, how do you start getting endorsed by someone who is an influence in the industry? How do you look at positioning your social media and keeping your brand safe, right? You don't want to have a picture of you with a glass of wine and a Sunday chill on your profile picture, right? Depending if you're actually trying to work for an alcoholic beverage company, for example, right? So be conscious whether your brand that you're putting out there on social media is representing the vision and the who you wanting to be in the world, if those two things are aligned. And that's where we get to an authentic value proposition. And then succeeding long term is create content. Be a content producer, not just a consumer. You're young right now, consume as much as you can, and then start being a producer. Someone like a Kolofelo, I think I've known for a couple of years, is now he is a leader in the supply chain and the young professionals committee and body. Is you wanted to start saying is to pay your dues and learn from others and come with a servant mindset and leadership approach, and from there saying consume everything you can, and slowly but surely is start stepping up, and that you can get to the point like Kolofelo and that you're leading these initiatives, right? If you've got a voice, you've got something that is valuable for people to know, is use your voice for good. So create content, contribute to the field, is become a thought leader. And one of the most important things I can say to you is your word is your oath. My kids a couple of years ago, one of them came to me and said is, Mama, hand on the Bible. Hand on the Bible, I promise. And I said is, you don't require a Bible, right? Is your word is your oath, right? You operate life in faith, or let's take it a step back, is yes, I want you to have great values and morals, and we live in a household which is built on faith. But beyond that is your word is your oath. Keep your promises, keep your commitments. I mean, again, I'm going to call this out right now if I may, and if someone can check for me and put the number in there, actually I won't, right? But you can check it right now. Is we had 100 people booked for the session. And when I kind of went on and we kind of delayed for 5 minutes, even with those of you who were on time, is we had 42 people the last time I checked. Where's the other 55? And there could have been other people who would have begged, pleaded, and paid money to be on here. If you've committed your word to arrive at this webinar, be there. If you're giving your word in the business community, your word is your oath. Under promise and over deliver. If you can make that your working ethos, we're at 56 now. Thank Hanista. We stopped the number at 100, right? I had youth that I wanted to bring onto the call, but we had a limited the amount of number. So your word, prove your worth and make your word non-negotiable. The next thing is to do with the brand identity. We spoke about logo. I've kind of spoken about that. Like your brand logo for one company would be their company brand logo. But for your particular in a kind of career space is the work that you deliver. That's your logo. That's your portfolio of evidence. So make sure that the work you deliver and the service that you provide is of exceptional brand logo quality. In terms of looking at portfolio of evidence, so what we kind of speak of in our business is not about your CV, but rather your portfolio of evidence, is really kind of make sure that you take a long-term approach to your career. Touching on CVs, your CV is kind of what your track record is, but it's so important for you not just to have your responsibilities on there, but to have your outcomes on, is what have you been able to achieve? And as young people, it's so important not just what you are doing in work right now, but what you did as a varsity student and what you've done in high school. A smart kind of tip, it's only March. For many of you, I think varsity is only like 5 seconds old, so you've still got the rest of the year. If it's your final year, make the effort to get involved in community service, in sport, in culture, leadership stuff, that you've got something to add in terms of team ability, leadership, contribution, to your CV, not just saying, as all I did for 3 years was study, right? You will thank me for it in 15, 20, or you'll thank me for it in 5 minutes' time, when you look for a job next year, and you'll thank me in 10 years' time and 20 years' time when you try to be an executive. Because when I did not pay you to be a leader, were you a leader? Were you involved as a prefect? Were you leading sports teams? Were you on the debating team? What are people inferring by what they see from you? And I want to kind of get done through a couple of things more, facts and reading between the lines. So something I said before, which I think we've touched on, is qualifications. Education, qualifications, it means nothing once you have it. Once you have it, it's the way that you get your foot in the door. It gets you the interview. But in a bigger way is that if you do not have an education, you don't even get a ticket to the ring. So education is one of the most important things you can do. So when you have it, it means nothing. If you don't have it, it means everything. Do not allow doors to close for you. You want a door to open, get the skills, get the education, and reskill yourself. In terms of interviewing, so talk about interviewing quickly, is at the moment what we're finding is most interviews are happening online. So critical, and if I tell you the amount of professionals who fall off on this, is do your research. Company, role, people, have a hard copy of your CV ready with you on hand. Make sure that they've got an electronic copy online that you can send it to them, for example, if you needed to. In terms of timing, on a webinar call, for example, make sure that you come on 15 minutes beforehand and test your tech, right? Get a friend to test Zoom or Teams with you, or whatever medium you're going to work on. And then always be on early enough. There's nothing worse that my recruitment team tends to find is a client calling us at 11:05 saying is, your candidate's not on yet. And you call the candidate saying is, oh, but my tech's failed, right? If that was a big business meeting which cost us money, are you also going to be unprepared for it? So the way you manage your recruitment process is an indication of how you're going to manage their business environment. There's no difference. It's the only thing they can base their assessment on is how you manage the recruitment process. Eye contact, really important. It's a really bad, I struggle with it, particularly when we're speaking online, is to kind of look into the little camera hole. It's a development area for me, but try and make the eye contact. And that your face is close enough that they can feel that you're speaking to them. And that's going to more fall face to face. The next thing is one of the most important things you can do is introduction of self. If you're going to practice any question, it's introduction to self. So you want to have a fantastic elevator speech. Introduce yourself in 30 seconds or less, because that'll be your first and lasting impression. Focus on your competencies. So what people are trying to do, and it's kind of like that reading between the lines element, is to focus not just on the technical side, but do you have the behavioral skills that they require? And I'll show you those in a couple of seconds. But what you want to do in an interview is to prove by example. If you say that you're a great leader, then tell me, I'm a great leader because I was a prefect, I was deputy head, I was the captain of the netball team. If you're saying I'm a great communicator, I was part of the debating team. I stood for SRC, at varsity level. I'm a great team player. So I played professional, or I played team sports for all of my schooling career. So show and prove by example. And that's what's important, not to have a CV of responsibilities, but a CV of what have you been able to achieve. If I compare one demand planner with another demand planner, or one transport planner with another transport planner, is how, I don't want to know what you do. I know what you do, right? A supply chain manager knows what you should be doing, right? And what your responsibility is. What they want to know is how well do you do what you do? So make sure your CV is positioned in terms of my portfolio of evidence showing you how well I've done what I've done. I told you, my first year, which was 20 years ago, just short on, not just for 20 years ago, I made the company I worked for R1 million. That's like 4 to 5 million rand in today's lifetime, right? So do you think I can sell? Pretty well, right? So prove by example, not just by I'm a great people's person, I'm a great salesperson. And then the next thing is interview the interviewer, right? Don't ask, I've had an example where we've been involved with the Amy Foundation, and we had someone or a group of youth who were going to join a hotel group. And when they had the opportunity after the whole briefing to ask questions, the first question that was asked is, how long is lunch? And my colleagues at the foundation just died because these were paid internships that we'd secured for these youth. And the second question that someone put their hand up was, what time do we go home? If you've got the opportunity to ask questions, make sure they are smart ones. Tell them about your business, tell them about your vision, tell me about why you are here after all these years. You know, what is your education plan? You know, do you provide education? Ask questions which leave a good and lasting impression, and thank them for their time. So in terms of competency, I mentioned to you earlier, is what you wanted to focus on is, if you're getting ready for an interview, is focus on these, is having answers and examples that speak to these, about how you took initiative. For example, I was working on my final year project in my industrial engineering course, and we had to work as a team, and we couldn't find a project, so I found someone that I knew, and we got to actually go and do our work study project at their site. For example, I initiated and found us a client to go and do the work at. Right, into decisiveness, we had a situation where I had to decide between 3 universities, and this is my decision-making thinking process, and here's what I did, and it was a good choice at the end of the day. Working under pressure, we had to kind of deliver my thesis, and the computer broke, etc., and here's how I kind of managed it. So problem, action, result. What was the situation you were faced with? What's the action that you took? And what is the tangible result where possible? And then I'm going to skip over this because I've touched on it a little bit, because I want to kind of give some time for information. But just a super quick one is be conscious about your average. So you are the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. And what that means is, if right now the only people that you've been influenced by are the friends who are studying with you, you want to find yourself a mentor. You want to get yourself a coach. You want to get involved with SAPEX to be able to see if some of these leadership and professionals are able to raise up your average, right? Wherever you're needing to reskill yourself is, how are you able to tap into network like SAPEX, a sponsor, a mentor, in order to elevate your skill set. I'm going to move through this, and I'm going to go, I think, straight to last thing, and we've got 10 minutes to go. I've got 10 minutes for questions, which is pretty darn good in my life. So last kind of quick quote from me is, your purpose is your big picture, the internal vision of what you'd like to achieve. When you combine clear values, engage your passions, and take on-purpose action, conscious, intentional action, you can follow your roadmap to the destinations that you choose. You choose. Live by choice, not by chance. Don't make excuses. Live with purpose and craft a life that you would be happy to live behind. So with that, I'm going to stop screen sharing and go to the normal screen. And I think, Kodofela, seeing as you're our monitor on the, there's a moderator on this thing, is if you've got any questions, pop them into the comment box, or otherwise put your hand up and we're going to kind of just answer some questions. And I'm happy to be on here for, my team is going to kick me because I tend to run over, but I'm happy to be on here until 2:05. So I've got to find the screen sharing, moving it button. There we go. That stopped. Okay. Okay, breathe and have some water.
Thank you very much, Chantal. That was a very, very inspiring webinar. Again, you know, outstanding. Guys, any of you have questions, you can just type them in the description box. I actually have a question while we wait for somebody to, while we wait for them to type their questions, maybe you can answer mine. So as a student who's about to enter the workplace, because it's my 3rd year, you know, so what kind of what kind of evaluation question or assessment questions should I ask like a potential recruiter? Because one of my biggest fears is getting a graduate program or an internship at a company, then they just place me in some room or whatever, you know, without taking an active interest in developing me, you know, or I just become the dreaded, you know, fetch me coffee or whatever. So what kind of assessment questions could I ask, you know, to kind of like gauge whether this is a company that would be actively involved in developing me, you know, and building me, so.
Okay. So, all right. So my first thing would be, number one is, that's where the research part comes in, right? Is when you are certain about who you are and you find organizations that line up with that, right? So if you've got a passion, for example, and again, I think about SAPEX, in the last couple of years, SAPEX have been very involved in the healthcare supply chain into Africa. If that's a passion area for you, is find organizations that share that passion, right? Because even if you're going to go and fetch coffee for a year, I'm going to tell all of you is fetch coffee for a year, right? Suck it up and do it. Because what you wanted to do is, and then you want to be super smart and have your ears on the ground saying is something happening? Is there's opportunity saying is, I'm happy to do the grunt work, right? Because you want to show that willingness. Because again, the biggest issue I'm hearing from executives saying is these young people who come in title saying is, oh, but I want to. Hey, Chantal, no sound. Kulafelo, you can hear me though, right?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Darling, just check what might be going on there. I'm not 100% sure and just see if we can do. But again, is this recorded so you can always catch up from there. So back to my point is do the grunt work, have a work ethic that when opportunities arise, have your ear to the ground. When something happens saying is, I'm willing to do the admin work, right? To work your way up. So don't expect, just because you've got an education does not mean that you should be able to get a high paying, sexy job. We have to earn it. That's part of the jungle gym, is that you study and you do all this graph for 4 years or 3 years, and then it's like, oh, I'm getting a really bad paid job in a company where they don't even notice I'm around, right? That's what I'm saying to you is life does not owe you any favors. You've got to make it work for you. And the beautiful thing about, for me being South African, and we've got I think it was a couple of Australians and Kenyans on the call, it's kind of saying is South Africans are innovative and industrious, right? It's saying is the Afrikaans word is woeker, right? The English closest word is hustle. You've got to hustle until you no longer need to introduce yourself, right? Which means is pay your dues, do your work, and get there, right? And then the thing is that the most important thing right now is get yourself your first job and work your way up from there. But again, is be smart about your question, saying is, tell me what your educational plan is. What can I do to develop myself further? That type of thing. So ask those type of things. Like saying is, do you provide SAPEX membership, for example, for free? That would be value add to me. If you save me that couple of R100, then I don't have to do it, and I can get all of that knowledge somewhere else. And if they don't want to pay for that, saying is, you make sure that you go to one less tea party once a month, and you pay for your SAPEX membership. So it's about saying is how the world doesn't owe you favors. You are out there to create a life for yourself. That was Chantal on a soapbox, so don't invite me again. All right, so next question. I think there's a couple more coming on there. I'm trying to get, there we go, chat. See if there's another question on here, and then I come through is, first question I got here is, how would you go about finding a mentor? Hi, Jaden. So a couple of things is, one is I'm saying, Dream Team from SAPEX, please put a note about this. It's my intention for some time to start to saying, how do we start providing mentors, because they are critically important. One is in your organization. So first thing I would do is saying is, one is keep an eye out for SAPEX, because we are going to be talking about it somehow or another. We're going to get people to offer their time for free, but then you've got to come committed. Number two is keep an eye on SAPEX, because we're going to do a lot more stuff here in this youth kind of thing, and we're probably going to find you some, I don't know, mentor, soundboard, something. Number three is, if you're still struggling, Jenny, and because you put it on, you're welcome to call me directly, and I'm going to see if I can find you a mentor, because you asked the question. Number four is, if you're in an organization right now, is ask the company you're at, is find someone who you like, that's in the dream job you wanted to get you, and saying is, may I please ask you for 1 cup of coffee a month? I'll bring the coffee or the chai latte or the soy milk, I don't know, decaf, whatever it is, but may I ask you for 15 minutes once a month? Ask for a mentor. Next question. So Jaden, tell me if that answers your questions well enough. Great, appreciate the feedback, Razan. Okay, we answered is, would you be open to sharing your presentation? Thank you. Yes, Tony, I am happy to kind of share it with the SAPEX team, so I will get onto that. My team has made a note. Next one is I have sound. Thank you, Connor. It means you're here. Next one is while doing their own work. Yeah, absolutely. Like Jenny says, is when you're doing the work and you're working your way up, is meet people, build network, build community. Very important. Hello, Chantal. So I'm nobody's ma'am, right? I've got some grey hair, but I'm Chantal to you. Minister, a great session, lots of information. Is there any way that we can get in contact with you? Yes, absolutely. I recommend to all of you, my team will be given a heads up. Please do connect with me on LinkedIn. So because I've got a very big international supply chain network, link to me, because now you would be a second level connection to someone else you want to be influenced by. So please connect into me, reach out to me, and we are able to help you. I want to do all these things you mentioned and reach all these targets. Hallelujah and amen. Hanista, based on your message, you've inspired me. So I've got a very big rubber arm, or a very flexible rubber arm, is you can welcome to reach out to me directly. Mentorship, yes. So Hayden and Hanista, you can welcome to call me. What have you learned? 1 or 2 words. Okay, that's Tanya. Oh, maybe please explain having a mentor. I haven't ever through the process. Okay, cool. Paula. So how I see a mentor, right? There's a difference between mentorship and coaching. So number 1 is chat with Kulafela and the team from SafeX to go and find the webinar we did last year around the difference between by mentorship and coaching. And what I'll probably do is I'm going to get my industrial psychologist on staff to post on my LinkedIn some between the difference between mentorship and coaching. Chris noted that down. But oftentimes what happens with mentor is really, it's almost like on-the-job learning. So coaching really is a process where, and there's different kind of coaching. So there is life coaching to get you unstuck and get rid of your baggage. There is executive coaching that I do with senior professionals, leadership, etc. And that's kind of, there's a difference between being skilled. I'm checking for time, we're still good to go. There's a difference between having the skills and then having the competencies. And it's not oftentimes easy just to be able to move into those leadership roles, because team learning how to manage people, lead people is hard. So that's what I tend to specialize in, right? So that's executive coaching, influencing communication, all those sexy stuff. The next thing is career coaching. So what my team tends to do is we do 2 things. One is kind of saying is, like my big passion area is getting used to actually get employed. If you are one of the, call the number here, 43, I don't know where the other 10 of them gone, but the 43 of you who are left, right, is you can, isn't it like the thing about something about Mars, the magic number is 43? So, okay, there goes 42, sorry for you, is the magic number to the universe is 42 or 43, according to what, if anybody knows, type it in, it's the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. The answer was 42 or 43. Geek story. I was going to say that you were on the call. Mentorship coaching is career coaching. So what's really important, what I've been doing is I believe the only reason you should not get a job is because you're not a culture fit. But a CV, I can teach you how to write a CV. Interviewing, I can train you how to interview. My team, if you don't have the skills, we can assess saying is, what is your skill set right now? Where's the gaps and how do you re-skill yourself? Hard skills, SAFEX has got you covered from a CPIM to a certified forecast professional, etc. There are hard skills you can be able to get from SAFEX. And then there are soft skills and competencies which I can coach you through in order to saying is, if you need to be able to be more a good communicator, if you need to be able to do presentations better, if you need to have the confidence, if you're needing to have more EQ and be able to not just, when I had someone I got off the call with who was being harakat with her boss, for example, because the boss is not doing what they need to do. I'm saying is, you can't tell your boss off. What you need to do is influence her, right? So I'm not coaching her in the art of influencing. Point made. But all those things we can coach you on, right? And that's what coaching does. It says, what's your skill set? What is the skill set? And how do I kind of help you to craft those? A mentor is someone, like I mentor a couple of people, for example, right? And what it is and oftentimes young entrepreneurs is kind of what I tend to mentor, is saying is, here is my 20 years of experience. First thing I want to tell them is like cash flow is king. Here's what I did, right? In Touchwood, by God's grace, is in 15 years of owning the People Shop, I've never taken a bank loan out, except for I took 1 or 2 months of bridging money from my husband when I wanted to stay maternity leave for 2 months longer. So I speak out of that, right? It's about speaking out of your experience. It's about being able to find a demand planning manager and saying is, I want to get into demand planning, is, would you mind being my mentor? Tell me about what happens in those discussions. You know, what do I need to do? Here's my challenges, right? It's someone who's almost like a soundboard for you more than likely in the profession you're wanting to do, and that's what I said is a great place to go is SAPEX, because by networking in this community, you'll be able to find yourself a mentor. And the second thing is in the organization you're working is find someone who's like, you know, in the sense of Denai, I see your name and I'm going to go to you right next, is to find someone who you either like, you want to get into the job they're in, or you're saying is, I just like the way you influence and the way you come across in business, right? It's not about all the hard stuff, but the soft skills as well. Okay, and there I think I've answered enough of your question, Paula. Otherwise, another follow-up. There's plenty of questions more. If you've got to dash off, then dash off. But if you want to stay, I will do 10 past. But then I think I've got to climb off after that. Denai, your name came up, or your hand was up, so you can welcome to ask a question. I'm moving this thing so I can see something. So unmute yourself and ask your question straight up.
Hello, thank you for the opportunity. I wanted to ask, I'm an international student and I've been turned down a couple of times. For example, PMC, I've applied for their graduate program, and mainly it's because I don't meet the requirements because I'm South African citizen. So as an international student, how would you advise me to make myself more noticeable and more competitive in South Africa?
I'm with you. Okay, so that's a longer conversation. What I'm going to say to you is, number one is it's a reality of life, right? So what I always say is that the game of chess is played a certain way. You can't bend the rules, it's the way it works. And right now South Africa there's a pecking order. It is African, colored, Indian candidates, white candidates, international students. Because our country is driven by a large BE, a discrepancy in inequality that's been existing, that's a challenge. So first thing I would say, in short, is apply to international multinationals, because that could be one way to bypass it. The second one is go for smaller companies, because a smaller company will not maybe have as big BE targets in order that they would just want a great talent. The third one is probably attend my career mastery kind of class. So we're going to give you some other hints and tips. And the last one is where the career mastery part comes in, is you've got to brand yourself to stand out, right? Is what you want to get to is not saying is, oh, it's another youth. It's saying is, holy moly, who's this person, right? I have made a very successful career, the first 10 years of my career, out of cold calling, right? And being able to find the benefit and the selling unique factor. You find that. You position yourself with your uniqueness. That's why I started my first 20 minutes with that and then got onto interview training, right? Because if you can stand out, they're going to say is, oh, she's not South African, but man, we cannot afford not to employ her. In other words, let's employ her, right? You want them to fight for you. So get clear about your brand before you worry about kind of applying to companies, right? Get clear about that first. Useful?
Yes, thank you very much.
Beautiful. All right. Much love, Katiwe. I appreciate the feedback. What in sales? Promise and deliver. Under promise, over deliver when it comes to sales. Number two is good branding and marketing, right? Is really critical, and that's a longer kind of question. So, Pamela, you need to kind of specify something more, but that's my first answer. Jaden, thank you very much from Jaden and Emma. Beautiful. We'll be in touch. Quibus, research, Quibus, is literally go. And so, again, get clear about what is your vision? What kind of industry do you want to work in? What kind of companies, what kind of values do you want to align with? And then go and do homework, right? And the big thing is, what people tend to do is they go and look for the big companies. Find a small company. The magic about a small company is you're going to do 3 people's job in one. You get a big corporate, you want 5 people doing the same job. Your exposure is less. Your learning is less. So find smaller companies. Small to medium enterprises is the way to go. Modisi, I'm checking my eyes. Okay, start with you. Yes, Modisi got the answer. The reason why you're on this call today is the answer. The biggest problem you may be having right now, or I don't have problems, right? I've got opportunities. The biggest opportunity you've got is you, and the biggest solution you got is you. You've got this, baby. You've got this, right? It's not an accident you're on a call with me today. and I'm hoping you've taken some wisdom, and I'm hoping that with the rest of the SAPEX team is we're going to add more value to you in 2021. My plan is how do I create value and make this a game changer year? That's my intention here. So the more I can add value to your life, call me, right? My team and I don't have time, I make time, right? We'll make time to help you out. Show the golden circle, yes, I'm in Cynic, correct. Deny, yes, we've spoken about that. Thank you. Not ma'am, Paula. Ma'am, Paula, Chantal girl. Great stuff, thank you. How do we get your LinkedIn profile? You go onto LinkedIn and you put my name in, Chantal Kading, which is coming up there right now. Yes, my team is able to get it. No, Marisa, I think, is still on the call. Marisa, if you wouldn't just mind, see if you can try and put my LinkedIn on there, but if you just go straight, anything with SAPEX, you'll probably find me connected on there somewhere with SAPEX stuff. And otherwise, type in my name and you'll be able to find me from there. And I think I've just run through all the questions. And stay fast. Woo! Okay, Kulafelo, you can take back the driver's seat, my man. Rally's over.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much, Chantal. That was awesome. Like really, truly inspirational. So that's the end of it, guys. Please don't forget to also visit the SAPEX website again, and check out the video on mentorship and also other videos, always continue learning. And with that being said, for me, thank you for making the time and being with us, and bye.
Much love. Rock the world, people. Be game changers, and I look forward to seeing you soon.